Alrighty, y'all. Hello. It's almost the weekend. Hope you're having a great day. We are looking at something really weird. You know, I love learning about different cars, different car manufacturers, motorsports, all that jazz. We are learning about something I just saw a tidbit about in a recent video about some more driving differences and stuff between Europe as a whole and the U.S. And I learned that in Europe, I think in most countries, or at least some countries in Europe, you guys have these cars that are really, really small. So small that, they're completely different classification of vehicle. You don't even need a driver's license to drive these cars. They're like insane, like moped cars or microcars. I'm not exactly sure, what the terminology would be across the line, but that is something that I'm very sure we don't have in the U.S. If we do, I've never seen it. So yeah, these cars are super small, and I just I think it's kind of cool. I also find it mind-blowing that there is like a four-wheeled, full-bodied vehicle that you just don't even need a license for to drive on the road. I think that's wild. So we're going to take a look at kind of like a quick walk around and drive of one of these. This comes to us from a channel called 007 Cars. It'll be linked in the description down below so you can watch these whole videos and, of course, browse their channel. I'm only going to be looking at clips of a couple of videos here. And this was suggested very recently on Discord from someone named Nissan Truck on Discord. So thank you for that. Let's go ahead and fire this up. So this is I don't even know how to say this brand. I've never even heard of this brand. It's Aixam. So I don't know if that's like Aixam or, yeah, I don't even know how to say that. Aixam? I don't know. Crossline S8 2012. So this is going to be like a POV drive. Or Aixam? I don't know how to say this. But you can see it here. This thing is tiny. But it kind of looks legit, though. I know it's small and funny, but I mean, look at it. It's got not fancy looking rims, but it's got like actual designed, rims on it. It's got full body panels. It's got, I'm assuming this is like a little fuel filler door. And what kind of fuel? Does this take regular pump, gasoline? I don't think it's a diesel, is it, in this thing? I guess, like, my question is, what's this like to maintain? Is this something you can daily drive? Is this even a car that you own? Or is it a car that you strictly rent? Like, they're just parked around and you rent them or something. I really don't know anything about these. I think it's fascinating. Even though there's no license required, there's probably got to be some sort of restriction still, right? Like, I'm assuming you have to be of a certain age. I don't think like a 9-year-old can hop in one of these and drive legally, right? But I don't know. This is a whole new world. This thing even has a key fob? Remote door locks on this little car? How legit? I mean, it is very small. But I mean, it's kind of open inside, so it might be bigger than most people think. Let's hear that door, how light it sounds. Yeah, I mean, it does sound pretty light. Very cheap, of course, as you would expect. All right, that's where it sounds different. You heard that fire up and you hear you see it kind of vibrating. You hear, right? Like, it sounds like a super small engine. Not even like a little 4-cylinder. No. We're dealing with this is basically like riding a quad or an ATV with a car body. That's what it almost sounded like. Has signals though. It's not a manual. That's rare in Europe, but I mean, I'm kind of not surprised. It's just like a totally little, it's a different car. It almost sounds like it has, that smaller style of like drivetrain. Like, is it some sort of belt-driven transmission or something? It sounded like you could hear it kind of whir up, and it didn't sound like it really shifted. Like, it might be only a 1 speed, right? How weird. Yeah, you can kind of hear like gears or something humming. Now, it does have like some legitimate gauges. I mean, you have a real speedometer, and then you have like, you know, some indicator lights for probably like low fuel headlights, stuff like that. Your turning signal arrows, of course. It does even look like it has some screens here that probably show maybe a mileage, right? Does this thing keep track of your miles or kilometers? Like an odometer, a proper one? I suppose it might. Now, this is not the environment I would have pictured it. I mean, we're out in the open on like a really big country road. So that's not what I would think of with this car. I would think of this strictly in very tight city environments. He's getting totally passed by the motorcycle. That's no surprise, though. It's going 60 kilometers per hour. So... trying to remember what that is in miles per hour. About like 38 or 40 something miles per hour. That sounds pretty that's pretty good. I mean, I heard these things were very slow. I think in the video I saw, I think she thought that they topped out at like 28 or 30 miles per hour. So I am kind of surprised to see this one going almost 40, or in this case 60 kilometers per hour. But you could tell it's topped out. It's just kind of like pegged, right? So I'm assuming this guy is going full throttle, right? Or, well, he was, I mean. Yeah, definitely doesn't sound refined like a regular car. I mean, you can tell it's a cheap, very simple, basic transportation. Which is kind of cool. I'd love to drive one just for the hell of it, right? I am surprised, though. It's very complete. Look, it even has a time, has a clock. It has a temperature reading. You know, it's 20 Celsius outside. That indeed is an odometer. How reliable are these? Are these so simple that they're actually very reliable? Or are they kind of a nightmare? I just don't know. But looking at it, I mean, yes, it's very cheap and simple, but to be honest, it's a super simple, small car. You don't even need a license for it, and yet it looks pretty complete to me, right? It's got a legitimate interior. You know, you got the gauges, you got mirrors everywhere, turning signals, headlights. I'm kind of impressed a little bit. Now, of course, this is the American coming out of me. I would be very, you know, I guess in a city, not so much. That would be fine. But out in the open environment like this, I would be a little freaked out being in that thing because it looks like it's super light. It looks like it's super, you know, weak. I don't know that, but you're in a very small car, right? A rattly car. So I would be a little afraid, like, you know, God forbid you get in a crash or someone, you know, weaves in front of you or something. This would not be a car I'd like to get in a wreck in, right? I'd much rather be in a big Suburban or a truck. Most of the time, these are probably driven low speed, you know, in cities where, of course, I think in that case, you'd be fine. And then we're going to take just a quick look at this second car as well. This is a different example. This one's called a Casalini M10. And it's one of the bigger engined moped cars. Are you ready for this? 635 cc's. So, of course, we're dealing with really small engines. Apparently, that's a bigger engine for this type of car. So, I mean, that's literally a 0.6 liter for reference. This one supposedly has like a little better acceleration and is one of the better driving cars. So let's take a look at this one as well. This just blows my mind. Look at this thing. It actually has a Mitsubishi logo there. I wonder if that's the engine. This one's silver with black steelies, so not as fancy looking as the other car. This one's dorky. This one's hella dorky. But, ooh, sounds like a jet flying over. Is that another fuel fill door? But I like dorky and weird cars, so I kind of like this one almost better. And if this one's got a bigger engine, why not, right? I'm amazed that it has, like, the remote locks and stuff. I feel like that's too fancy for these. It's funny, the biggest part of the car, I think, is the door. I'm not even kidding. Very simple looking. Shifter almost made it look like a stick shift, but I don't think it is. I think it's some sort of simple automatic. So I didn't see a clutch pedal. Look at it shake. What are these things? And how weird, you push forward to go into drive. Even a shifter, I think it was like that in another car. That's weird. I've never, in every automatic I've ever driven, you always park is forward and then you pull back to go into drive. So that's very odd as well. Just a little detail, but something's missing here, it looks like. I don't know if that's some random piece missing. Again, very simple interior, but look, you even have a radio. You have climate controls down here. I would be mind blown if this thing has air conditioning. These don't have air, right? I almost feel like they couldn't even run with air. But if they do, I mean, tell me, do these things have any power left with the air on? Because on most cars with, like, I'd say like under 200, horsepower, even in a regular full-size car, when you turn on air, you usually feel it. You feel the difference. You feel like the car has a little less power, right? I feel like this would be a nightmare with AC on, but who knows? This one's scooting though. We have the speedometer on the left. Oh yeah, this thing's hauling ass. I wonder where these are filmed. I think it's a pretty area. Out in the open, the countryside like this, the hills. Now, it looks like these things would be fun to drive, though, right? I'm sure they corner well. Not like corner well like a, track car, like at Nürburgring or something, but just for little roads, like, I'm sure it's zippy, right? It'd be very easy to turn. And I wonder what they use for brakes as well. Because if these have disc brakes, these things are stopping on a dime, I'm sure. But being on the cheaper side, maybe they use drum brakes. I would actually have to guess. But I'm not sure. That is crazy, man. Wow. It sounds so funny. All right, I have to Google these real quick before we end the video. These are just truly bizarre to me. So, moped cars, Europe. I mean, look at these things. Okay, I want this. I want the truck one. That is so cool. Something about like small utility vehicles that I just love. I would totally rock one of these. And, here we have a claim more in line of what that girl said in that video I saw recently. So like this one only has like a 50cc engine. That is, by the way, super small. If you don't already know, I'm sure most of you know that. That other one we just saw had a 650 almost cc. This is a 50. That is tiny, right? 8 horsepower, maximum speed of 28 miles per hour. So that sounds more in line of what I was guessing. But I guess they do kind of come, in a range of shapes and sizes and apparently engine sizes and power levels as well. Look at this thing on the road. That might be the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry, small cars make me laugh. It's not a bad thing. It's just funny. This thing is literally insane. I love how it's got a freaking Ferrari logo on it. Yeah, that's a Ferrari, all right. That's gonna do it for this one. That is absolutely hilarious. I mean, this just scratches the surface. I'm sure there's a lot more to know about these, and yeah, please educate me in the comments. What's it like owning these, or is this something you rent? Like I said, there's a lot of questions I do have around these, but it's very funny to me. It's also very unique. It is kind of interesting to see them in motion and hear them and see how they operate. Some of them are a little more impressive than I would have thought. So that's always kind of cool to learn about. I'm very sure, like 99% sure, these are not a thing in the U.S. Big surprise, right? Everyone's too obsessed with their big lifted trucks and Cadillac Escalades and stuff like that. So yeah, that would not be fashionable here in the US, I'm afraid. Keep it up with your awesome suggestions. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you watching as well. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Otherwise, have an excellent weekend that is coming upon us quickly. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker, and until next time, y'all, I'll catch you later.